The Cosby Show gave us laughter, love, and the picture of a perfect family, but behind the scenes, many of its stars faced heartbreaking struggles and tragic endings the public never saw. In this video, we uncover the hidden pain and powerful legacies of 13 unforgettable cast member stories that deserve to be remembered. As Al Hanks on The Cosby Show, Joe Williams delivered a performance full of class and smooth jazz swagger. Best known for his work with Count Basie and his velvety baritone, Williams was a singer admired by peers and audiences alike. But his personal story was tinged with darkness. Behind the tuxedoed performances was a man plagued by depression and rejection. At his lowest points in the 1960s, Williams underwent electroshock therapy, a haunting reflection of how little support artists with mental health struggles received at the time. Though his comeback in the 70s reignited his career, he never fully shook the scars of his earlier breakdowns. He preferred performing in intimate lounges and hotel bars rather than big arenas, perhaps finding more comfort in smaller rooms. He died alone in a Las Vegas hotel room in 1999. The world may have moved on, but his voice-aching, rich, and soulful remains preserved in vinyl and memory. When Sammy Davis Jr. made his guest appearance on The Cosby Show, it was more than a star cameo. It was a nod to a man who had broken barriers in American entertainment, even as those same systems tried to break him. A member of the legendary Rat Pack, Sammy's charisma, talent, and tireless energy made him one of the most versatile performers of the 20th century. Yet behind the glitz was a deeply conflicted man. At 29, he lost his left eye in a near-fatal car accident and adopted a glass replacement, an outward symbol of the pain he often buried. He faced relentless racism even after achieving stardom. His romantic relationships with white women, including a brief marriage to Swedish actress May Britt, led to threats from white supremacist groups and earned him the ire of both white and black communities. And his brief association with the Church of Satan only deepened the public's confusion about his inner world. Despite his fame, Davis spiraled into addiction and financial ruin. At the time of his death from throat cancer, he owed over $5 million in unpaid taxes. Desperate to settle debts, his widow was forced to auction off most of his personal belongings, including his cherished memorabilia. In a cruel twist, Davis declined surgery that may have prolonged his life because it would have damaged his vocal cords, the very essence of his identity. Sammy Davis Jr. was a genius and a contradiction, a man who gave everything to show business and was ultimately consumed by it. His voice may be gone, but his legacy as a trailblazer and showman lives on. Dizzy Gillespie's guest role on The Cosby Show was brief but unforgettable, bringing his unmistakable trumpet sound and infectious laugh to the screen. A pioneer of bebop, Gillespie was more than a jazz legend. He was a cultural force, a musical philosopher, and a bridge between the spiritual and the sonic. Yet behind the bent trumpet and cheeky smile were years of personal chaos. Dizzy's life was filled with contradiction. She was deeply spiritual, but struggled with alcohol, a beloved mentor, but at times emotionally distant. His long marriage to Lorraine Willis endured, but not without strain, as his career often came before his relationships. When Gillespie was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 1992, he refused to slow down. Even when his hands trembled and his strength faded, he kept performing, delivering his final solos with more soul than ever. He died in Englewood, New Jersey in early 1993. Though his net worth was modest, his influence was incalculable. He mentored young musicians, opened doors for black artists, and transformed jazz into a global language. Michelle Thomas was a burst of light on The Cosby Show, playing Justine, the gentle and supportive girlfriend of Theo Huxtable. With her wide eyes, sparkling smile, and effervescent charm, Michelle quickly became a fan favorite. She later went on to portray the quirky and devoted Myra Monkhouse on Family Matters, earning a place in the hearts of sitcom lovers across America. But behind her radiant screen presence lay personal struggles and tragedy that unfolded all too quickly. Michelle grew up in a musical family. Her father, Dennis Thomas, was a founding member of Kool and the Gang. She was raised in an environment that nurtured her creative talents. Yet even in her earliest roles, she faced cruel demands from network executives who insisted she lose weight despite her naturally slim build. The pressure to be physically perfect took a toll on her self-esteem, and she privately battled the emotional effects of body shaming in an unforgiving industry. Her romantic relationship with Malcolm Jamal Warner, who played Theo on The Cosby Show, was filled with affection but also marked by quiet tension and eventual heartbreak. When the two broke up, Michelle was reportedly devastated. Soon after, in 1997, she was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive form of abdominal cancer known as intra-abdominal desmoplastic small round cell tumor. Despite her worsening condition, Michelle chose holistic treatments over traditional medicine. Her health declined rapidly, and she passed away just 2 days before Christmas in 1998, surrounded by loved ones, including Malcolm, who remained by her side until the end. She was only 30 years old. Michelle Thomas's death was a devastating loss to the television world. Her beauty, grace, and kindness left an indelible impression, and her story serves as a poignant reminder of how even the brightest lights can burn out far too soon. Merlin Santana appeared on The Cosby Show as Stanley, Rudy Huxtable's charming young boyfriend. With his handsome features, smooth charisma, and natural comedic timing, Merlin became a teen heartthrob in the early 90s. But behind the breakout success was a young man fighting to transition from child star to respected actor in an industry that often pigeonholed actors of color. Born to Dominican parents in New York City, Merlin began acting at the age of 3 and appeared in numerous television shows and films throughout his youth. As he matured, he tried to rebrand himself with more serious roles in The Steve Harvey Show and other projects, but Hollywood's limited opportunities for Afro-Latino actors left him frustrated and often sidelined. Feeling disillusioned, Merlin became vocal about the industry's racial double standards, a move that may have cost him valuable roles. He also started spending more time in the nightlife scene, looking for meaning, connection, and perhaps a sense of control he couldn't find in his professional life. In 2002, his promising future was cut short in a senseless act of violence. After being falsely accused of misconduct by a teenage girl, Merlin was ambushed and shot in the back of the head while sitting in a car in Los Angeles. The girl and her accomplices were later convicted, but the damage had been done. Merlin was only 26 years old, a young father and a rising talent whose life was stolen by lies and hate. His death sent shockwaves through the entertainment world and left fans mourning what could have been. Merlin Santana's story remains a cautionary tale about fame, vulnerability, and the dangers of being young, black, and too visible in a world that often fails to protect its brightest. When Lena Horn appeared as herself on The Cosby Show, it wasn't just a cameo, it was a celebration of a life that changed the face of entertainment for Black women. An icon of music, film, and civil rights, Lena Horn was elegance personified, yet her life was also marked by intense pain, loneliness, and endless battles against racism and injustice. Born in Brooklyn, Lena began her career as a nightclub singer in the 1930s and quickly gained a reputation as one of the most talented vocalists of her generation. Hollywood came calling, but the opportunities were cruelly limited. She was often cast in musical interludes that could be easily cut out for Southern audiences. Major studios refused to give her leading roles and frequently criticized her appearance, claiming she was either too black or not black enough. Her personal life was no easier. She lost her father at an early age, endured a volatile marriage, and later suffered the devastating death of her son, Teddy, from kidney disease. Her interracial marriage to conductor Lenny Hayton, kept secret for years, sparked backlash from both white and black communities. Lena also struggled with clinical depression, finding solace only in her music and activism. Despite the hardships, she remained a symbol of defiance and beauty. Her rendition of Stormy Weather became a cultural touchstone, and her support of the civil rights movement marching with Dr. King and speaking out against discrimination cemented her legacy as a fearless voice for justice. Lena Horn passed away in 2010 of heart failure. She left behind a $10 million estate and a body of work that broke barriers for generations of Black performers. Her life was stormy, but she faced it with strength, grace, and a voice that never stopped fighting for dignity and change. Rosco Lee Brown's deep, eloquent voice and graceful delivery elevated every role he played, including his single appearance as Dr. Foster on The Cosby Show. With a resume that spanned theater, film, and television, Brown was one of the most respected character actors of his time. Still, he lived in the margins of fame too intellectual, too poetic, and some whispered, too private for Hollywood's comfort. Despite rumors about his sexuality, Brown never publicly addressed his personal life. He was neither married nor known to have children, choosing instead to live quietly and introspectively. He earned a Primetime Emmy and numerous stage awards, but never received the household recognition his talents deserved. Rosco Lee Brown passed away in 2007 from stomach cancer. His life was a reminder that some artists move through the world not with noise, but with quiet brilliance and unshakable integrity. Elaine Stretch's one-time role on The Cosby Show as the blunt and no-nonsense Mrs. McGee was a perfect reflection of her real-life persona. A powerhouse on Broadway, Stretch was sharp-tongued, fearless, and often emotionally raw in her performances. Her life, however, was marked by heartbreak and struggle. After the death of her husband, actor John Bay, in 1982, Stretch never remarried and battled loneliness for the rest of her life. She was a recovering alcoholic who spoke candidly about her decades-long struggle with addiction, often using it as material for her stage monologues. In her later years, she lived at the storied Carlisle Hotel in Manhattan, where she hosted cabarets and interviews with disarming honesty. Despite her failing health and a long battle with diabetes, she performed into her late 80s, determined to leave the stage only when her voice gave out. And when it did, the theater world dimmed its lights in her honor. Lou Meyers had a small role on The Cosby Show, but he would go on to shine in his portrayal of Mr. Gaines on A Different World. Known for his distinctive voice and animated performances, Meyers brought humor and humanity to every character he played. Yet off-screen, his life was less steady. A failed marriage and personal demons, including alcoholism, often led to volatile outbursts and erratic behavior that made working with him difficult at times. He had a deep love for the theater, but struggled to maintain stability in his personal relationships and finances. As health problems mounted in his later years, including heart failure and pneumonia, Meyers faded from the spotlight. He died in 2013, relatively unknown to a new generation, but forever cherished by fans who remembered his booming laugh and larger-than-life stage presence. Moses Gunn's commanding performance as Dr. Lotus on The Cosby Show was brief, but powerful, much like the man himself. A veteran of the stage and screen, Gunn was known for his Shakespearean gravitas and deep, expressive voice, but his journey began in hardship. Born into extreme poverty in St. Louis, Gunn experienced homelessness and hunger as a child. He worked tirelessly to educate himself, eventually earning a master's degree and becoming a founding member of the Negro Ensemble Company. Despite his achievements, Gunn remained largely outside the Hollywood elite, often cast in supporting roles while lesser talents took the spotlight. His private life was intense, marked by spiritual searching and passionate advocacy for Black artists. He died from complications of asthma in 1993, mourned by the theater community, but barely remembered by mainstream audiences. His legacy endures through the actors he mentored and the roles he brought to life with unmatched dignity. Lynn Thigpen's appearance on The Cosby Show as Mrs. Hudson was a small role in a brilliant career. Best known for playing the chief on Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. Thigpen was a versatile actress with a powerful voice and a quiet grace. A proud and principled performer, she often turned down roles that felt stereotypical or diminished the Black experience choices that limited her career opportunities but solidified her integrity. Her work in theater, film, and television earned her critical praise, but she was never one to chase the spotlight. Lynn never married and lived alone, valuing independence and focus. In 2003, she died suddenly from a cerebral hemorrhage, shocking friends and fans alike. She was just 54. Though her passing was quiet, her influence resonates in classrooms, theaters, and television sets across generations. Clarice Taylor joined The Cosby Show at the age of 68, stepping into the role of Anna Huxtable the Wise, soft-spoken and dignified matriarch who anchored the family with warmth and old-school values. With her deep, resonant voice and commanding yet maternal presence, Clarice brought a timeless grace to the series, earning an Emmy nomination in 1986 for her work. But off-screen, her life was far more complex than the comfort she projected on television. Clarice's journey to success was anything but easy. Born in the early 20th century, she entered show business at a time when black women were offered little more than stereotypical roles if they were cast at all. To support herself, Clarice spent years working at the U.S. Postal Service while performing in small theater productions and off-Broadway plays. She was a founding member of the Negro Ensemble Company, an institution that helped launch the careers of many black actors, yet she herself often faced rejection, ageism, and racism in mainstream Hollywood. Though her role on The Cosby Show elevated her visibility, Clarice struggled with depression and long-standing insomnia that often left her emotionally exhausted. She had adopted 2 sons in her youth, but later, legal disputes over inheritance and property strained those relationships. Crew members sometimes described her as difficult and intense traits, perhaps born of a lifetime of fighting to be seen and heard in an industry that rarely welcomed her. As she grew older, Taylor withdrew from public life. She lived in relative solitude in Englewood, New Jersey, until her death in 2011. Though her final years were quiet, her legacy remains enduring. Clarice Taylor helped pave the way for generations of older black actresses, proving that elegance, strength, and complexity could coexist on screen even if her real life was filled with battles few ever knew. Earl Heyman brought wisdom and nobility to the role of Russell Huxtable, Cliff's loving and dignified father. A man of refined charm and gentle authority, Heyman became a favorite among fans for his heartfelt scenes that showed the value of generational respect and family traditions. But while he played the ideal patriarch on television, Earl was harboring a personal truth that he kept hidden for most of his life. A gifted Shakespearean actor, Heyman trained in London and performed in some of the most respected theaters in Europe and the US. He was a rare black actor who commanded classical roles typically reserved for white performers, earning accolades for his performances in Othello, Hamlet, and King Lear. But beyond the stage, Earl led a private life that very few people truly understood. For over 50 years, he lived with his partner, a fellow actor named Ralph Cohn. In an era when being openly gay could destroy a career, especially for a black man, Earl never publicly acknowledged their relationship. Instead, the two shared a quiet, steadfast companionship away from the public eye. After his death in 2017, heartfelt letters and photographs revealed the tender and enduring nature of their bond, a story of love hidden in the shadows of a judgmental world. Despite the secrecy, Earl Heyman lived with dignity and purpose. He even lent his deep, authoritative voice to the animated character Panthro in Thundercats, endearing him to a younger generation. His passing at 91 was peaceful, but the quiet pain of a life partially lived in hiding still echoes through his story. Today, his legacy is not just one of artistic brilliance, but also of quiet resilience and bittersweet love.